Hey guys, it's Kristen and Zach here, actually.
Finally, I'm back.
I'm excited you're here.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here
And
too.
I'm excited because in this vlog, we're going to be talking about how we found the one. So rewinding in time back to the very first moment that we met. I know you still remember it.
That's a long time ago.
Right? Do you remember it?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, I remember it.
So we actually both grew up in San Antonio in the same city, but didn't actually meet our entire lives. We had a lot of mutual friends, didn't meet until we were at a conference up near Dallas. And for the first time we met at this conference, I was 19, you were 18. We were just little people, tall, young people, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
But that was the first time we met. And I know I was really interested the first time I saw you. Like I remember seeing you sitting there, and I talk about this in Love Defined, like 11 or so rows in front of me. And I just remember seeing the back of you, and you looked really handsome from the back. Your hair, like you had strong muscles. And of course, I don't know anything about you at all, but I just knew like, okay, this guy, interesting. He's at this really great Christian conference. Like I wonder what he's about. And you remember seeing me around.
Yeah, but I was already interested way before that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He had seen me in San Antonio, and I didn't know this. That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
So at the end of the conference, we ended up actually meeting, and we were both really interested, like intrigued at that point, just like, I want to get to know this other person. So in that moment, we were both interested. Of course, we had no idea that one day we were actually going to get married. And there's no possible way that we could have actually even known in that moment that we were the ones for each other, even though we were.
So like I said, I was interested in Kristen way before she was.
That's crazy.
Seen her around San Antonio and then knew she was going to be at this conference, so I was excited to get to know her there. We met for the first time.
I know.
And we had a good time getting to know one another kind of on a surface level. But, you know, I really wanted to pursue her at that point. I kind of, you know, had feelings for her, obviously. I wanted to take the next step, but I knew that was really pointless because there was nowhere it was going to go at that point. I was still super young. I was 18. So there was just intentionality that I wanted to have in a relationship, and I just wasn't ready to pursue a girl at that point.
So after that initial meeting at the conference, I obviously was interested, like I said. I could tell he was interested, but then after that, nothing happened. You didn't speak up. I was kind of hoping like maybe he would express some interest or something, but then we went back to San Antonio. We saw each other now around town at different events. Like we found out we had all these mutual friends, and I was like, this is crazy. And so the more
playing it cool.
Yeah.
The
more I saw him, the more I was interested. Like I got to know more about his character and who he was, his personality. He was super fun, a great leader, just like athletic, cute, godly, like all these awesome things.
Wonderful.
And so my heart was drawn to him, but for the next 3 years. Okay, so if you're watching this and you're like having to be patient in a relationship or you don't know what the future holds, I met him, and for 3 years straight, nothing happened. And that was a really, really hard time in my life because I wanted to be in a relationship, but God just wasn't opening the doors. He wasn't speaking up. There was nothing happening. And so I really had to learn.
It was just a test.
Yeah, thanks for the test.
Yeah.
Like I had to learn so much patience and like just surrender and trusting in God and trusting in the right timing, not forcing something, but knowing if God has this for us, then in the right time it's going to happen. But that was literally 3 years, and I had no idea what was going on behind the scenes with him.
So here's what was going on behind the scenes with me.
They all want to know.
I was 3 years. Come on, it's just a little bit of time. So I was praying about Kristen behind the scenes. I was really interested throughout that entire 3-year period. Didn't really change. I was continuing to be interested after prayer and asking counsel of other godly men. But there was stuff that I was doing behind the scenes, least of which was school and finishing school. That's not something everybody has to do before you get married, but I was wanting to finish school before that next step in my life took place. Needed a job. Job is kind of handy.
Important, yeah.
Need to be able to provide for a family. I wanted to grow spiritually and mature and grow in my walk with Christ personally, and just learn about real life stuff. I needed to figure out finances and learn about, you know, okay, I have an apartment. How does that work? And what do I need to know? So there was a lot of things that I wanted to do before I took the intentional step of getting to know Kristen. So that was what was going on 3 years. So I was probably 21 when I actually expressed interest.
So
and
young.
spoke up. 21.
So
Yeah,
cute.
so cute. But it was about that time where I felt like I was ready. What I mean by ready was not like I'm just ready to go and get married.
Right.
I'm like excited about this.
We had a long way to go.
I've arrived. No, not at all. I was just in a place where I felt like God had me in a place where I could move forward and actually express interest in Kristen, which is a big deal. And that was a fun time to You were excited?
I was so excited.
Yeah, it was fun.
That was a really exciting time for me. I had been, like I said, for 3 years praying and surrendering and hoping. And then when he finally spoke up, it was like, oh, like this is really happening. And I was so excited. And it was really cool because for the first few months, we didn't just like dive into romance and dive into like coupling off. Like we were really intentional to build a friendship and just like really get to know each other on a deeper friendship level. And I remember that season just being so sweet of like really building a friendship.
Really fun.
Yeah, like it was super fun. And I felt like I really got to know your heart, really got to know you. But then kind of that transition naturally into a more serious like dating relationship where it was dating with a bigger purpose. Like the bigger purpose of like, I want to find out if I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. And so that journey for us was a very intentional journey of us asking a lot of deep questions, really getting to know the heart of the other person, finding out where we stood on all sorts of different beliefs, having fun together, getting to know each other's friends and family, and just throughout that process, really discerning if this was the one that we wanted to spend our life with. As we were on this journey of really figuring out if we were the ones for each other, I think that there can be a lot of confusion surrounding this whole idea of like, how do you find the one? And I know even for us back then, this has become a lot more clear in recent years. Back then it was even a little bit fuzzy, but I think for a lot of us, we have this idea based on whether movies we've seen, music that we listen to, or just a general sense of like, what does it mean to find the one? I think often we can take the wrong approaches. And this is actually something that Bethany and I, who's not here, that we wrote in Love Defined, but we talk about this idea that there's two wrong approaches I think we often kind of default to, and then there's a really good approach that will land you in a more successful place. And the two wrong approaches, just really quickly, one is asking the question, how do I know if he's the one for me? And you have this perspective where that sounds good at first, like, well, yeah, I need to find the one for me. But what happens is we take this on this perspective that we need to get on the hunt and get on a search for the perfect person, the perfect counterpart who is going to complement us in every single way. So every single thing about us that we love or don't like, we're going to find this person that's going to fit us perfectly in every possible way. And so what happens is we can become really self-focused and self-absorbed and on the hunt for this magical person that doesn't actually exist, thinking that if we could just find them, they would complete us in every way. But from my experience and just looking at the Bible and talking to other people, that's not a great approach for finding the one. The other approach that is not very helpful is something that's really common, really popular in our society today, and it's this idea of a soulmate. And we'll ask the question, how do I know if he's my soulmate? I know, my soulmate. And in fact, this was really interesting. There was a study done and among single women, and 94% of single women said that the first requirement for a spouse is that they would be their soulmate.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's crazy. And it sounds really good, like, oh, how heartwarming, like my soulmate. But the truth is, this idea of a soulmate, it really is very, like, it almost feels kind of mystical and kind of emotional and like, what does it mean to be a soulmate? If that's for 94% of women saying that's a requirement, well, what does it mean to have a soulmate? What does it mean for someone to be a soulmate? Why do so many people get married thinking they found their soulmate and then 5 years later they're getting divorced because they're no longer their soulmate? Like, it's not really working. I think having something like a soulmate, it sounds good, but it's not tangible. It's not something real that we can grasp onto. It's not something we can stand at our altar and say, you know, you're my soulmate, I'm committing the rest of my life to you. Like, oh, we need something more than just that. And so we now want to share with you what we kind of did throughout our journey and what we believe is a really good and healthy and successful way to discover the right question to ask to discover if someone is the one.
So what's a better way to discern whether or not we're the ones? Well, I think what it really comes down to is whether or not we feel like we can commit the rest of our lives to this person. It's really a decision that we have to make. Am I willing to commit the rest of my life to this person that I've got to know over the past year or 2 or 3, however long it's been? In our case, 17.
No.
How long was it? It was just 3.
Thankfully.
But am I willing to commit to this person? It's going to be a long and an exciting marriage ahead of us. Am I willing to be with that person for the rest of my life? That's really what we're coming down to deciding. For us, getting to the place where we knew that we were the ones for one another, it was really a journey. It was a process. It was time. It didn't happen overnight.
It's not instantaneous.
Right? Man, it took some time. And so some keys that we took away from that and really helped us along the way were a few things. One would be prayer. Prayer together,
Huge.
Prayer separately, prayer with friends of ours that were supporting us in this process. Prayer is underestimated, and I really, really believe that prayer helps all of us discern certain things, and definitely in this case, it's a big one. Another thing is seeking outside wisdom and counsel. We have great friends, still do, but back in the day, it was super key to get, for one, our parents, but other young married couples that had been through this process as well. You can't have enough outside counsel. I highly recommend it. More is better.
Especially in that point when you're in a relationship, you're kind of foggy and you're thinking.
Not thinking clearly.
You're kind of infatuated, like you need wise people speaking into your life.
For sure. Another thing is asking a lot of deep questions. We had some fun with some deep questions. Not just these surface level questions that like, what's your favorite color and everything. Like, no, that's fun. But we like getting down to the nitty gritty of life. Like you need to ask intentional, deep questions of one another. That's one of the main ways you're going to get to know the other person. Got to ask good questions. In Love Defined, Kristen and Bethany's new book, there's some pages on there. What are they? 210 and 249 that has details some great questions. Good start, but you have to ask questions of the other person and do it often. Another key that was really fun to do was just spending time together. Prayer, asking questions of one another, but you just want to spend intentional time together. Not just doing fun things, but having good conversations and looping in other friends and spending time that is meaningful with one another, really getting to know their heart, getting to know their goals, their dreams, their aspirations. Who is this person that I'm potentially going to marry? Who would that be? And that's only going to happen when you spend intentional time together.
After 10 months plus of getting to know each other intentionally, asking good questions, praying, seeking counsel, just having a ton of fun together and really entering each other's worlds and getting to know the heart of each other, it really came down to this question of, do I want to commit the rest of my life to this person? And I had to come to that conclusion on my own. You had to come to that conclusion on your own. It wasn't necessarily something we talked about. It was just as we were getting to know each other, we were forming opinions of one another and really praying and thinking like, wow, do I want to commit the rest of my life to this person? And if the answer is yes for you, if you're in a relationship, but for us, if the answer was yes, then we had found the one. That's how we discovered if we were the ones for each other. It wasn't Cupid striking us with an arrow. It wasn't an infatuated moment of like, where like the sky's part and like the sun comes through. It's really an intentional journey. And for us, as we went on this journey and got to know each other over time, we came to the conclusion that yes, we were both willing and excited to commit the rest of our lives to one another. And so as that transition kind of happened, maybe at a little different points for each of us, just in our hearts, there came a time where it just became very obvious. Like, yes, we were both committed. We were both excited. We were both ready. And then you proposed. I said yes. 8 months later, we got married. And that was back in 2011. So
happily ever after.
Yay, we're still on that journey. Yeah, but having a really awesome, vibrant marriage, it's been so exciting. And having that foundation of being so intentional in our relationship beforehand and finding out if we were the ones in a really purposeful way, that laid a great foundation to set us up for success in marriage. And so we just want to encourage you, if you're in that process, if you're in a relationship, if you want to be in a relationship, if you're praying in singleness, just striving to be content in God, but one day you're like, how will I know if they're the one? We just want to encourage you that it's not going to be so much a magical strike, a lightning bolt, Cupid hitting you, an infatuated moment of emotions. It's really going to be a journey and learning, and over time, really asking yourself that question and coming to that point of, am I willing and ready to commit the rest of my life to this person? And I just want to end with a quote that's actually from Love Defined, where we say, finding the one isn't a mysterious search. It's a practical and exciting adventure built on wisdom, prayer, counsel, commitment, and sacrificial love. And that really is what finding the one is all about. Thanks so much for watching this video. And thank you, Zach, for being on the channel today.
Here I am.
If you guys like this video, give us a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos from us, subscribe below. We post new videos every Wednesday. And you can also find additional content about the one, relationships, intentional dating, anything like that at girldefined.com. And also grab a copy of Love Defined if you haven't read it, because we have an entire chapter dedicated in depth on this topic of finding the one. As I'm talking as you're talking.
Awkward.
Yes, it's okay. Try a retake of that.
Those crazy things about this video that I can't talk when I'm doing this. Where am I going with that?
At the beginning, I was like, do you remember? And you were like, oh. I was like, okay, really?
So what's a better way for going about whether...
Sure,
so what's the right way to... No, not that. Sure, yes. Okay. All right, if you want to see more of these videos and support these awesome ladies and doing what they're doing, you can go to patreon.com, give $1 or $2 per video to keep more of this awesome content coming to you guys. Patreon.com, become a patron. We love you guys. Have a good one.